The emerald necklace hit the polished marble floor with a sharp clink that echoed through the silent mansion. Every head turned. Every breath stopped. Elena Morales stared at the sparkling jewelry lying beside her cleaning bag as if she'd never seen it before in her life. "I don't understand," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I've never touched that necklace." Vivian Mercer folded her arms with the confidence of someone who already knew how this story would end. "Really?" she asked coldly. "Then perhaps you'd like to explain why it was inside your bag." The room exploded with murmurs. "It was in her bag. I can't believe it. After all these years?" Elena looked from one face to another, desperately searching for someone who still believed her. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Nobody defended her. Standing beside her, 4-year-old Leo clung tightly to her hand, looking around with frightened eyes. "Mommy," he whispered. "Why is everyone angry?" Elena forced herself to smile at him, even though tears were already burning behind her eyes. "It's okay, sweetheart." But it wasn't okay. Not even close. Vivian turned toward the security guards. "Escort Mrs. Morales to the staff office immediately. Effective today, her employment with the Cross estate is terminated." "No!" Elena cried, taking one desperate step forward. "Please, there has to be some mistake." "There isn't. I've worked here for 8 years. And today," Vivian replied, "those 8 years came to an end." One of the guards lowered his eyes. He had known Elena for years. She had brought him coffee during overnight shifts. She remembered his daughter's birthday every year. But he still stepped forward. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. Elena looked around one final time. The same grand entrance hall she had polished every morning before sunrise. The same family portraits she had carefully dusted. The same staircase she had decorated every Christmas. Suddenly felt like a courtroom where she had already been found guilty. Then Leo tugged gently on her sleeve. "Mommy." She looked down. "Can I call the nice man now?" She blinked. "What nice man?" "The man who fixed my airplane." Before she could ask another question, Vivian's sharp voice cut through the silence. "Take her out." The heavy front doors closed behind them. Just like that, 8 years disappeared. 45 minutes earlier, the Cross estate had been preparing for one of the biggest charity galas in Connecticut. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Chefs hurried between kitchens. Florists carried fresh white orchids through the halls. Security teams checked every guest list twice. Inside the master suite, Elena carefully folded an evening gown onto the bed. She smiled to herself. Mrs. Cross always preferred her dresses arranged exactly the same way. Left sleeve first. Right sleeve second. Tiny details. That's what Elena believed separated good work from great work. She didn't know someone was watching her from the hallway. Vivian. Expressionless. Calculating. Elena. She turned immediately. "Yes, Ms. Mercer? I'll handle the jewelry inventory today." Elena looked surprised. "Oh, you usually have Thomas do that." "I changed my mind." "Of course." Vivian stepped into the room carrying a digital tablet. "You've been working non-stop since dawn." "I'm fine." "No." Vivian smiled politely. "Take 15 minutes. I still have the guest rooms." I said take a break. There was something unusual about her tone. Not angry. Not kind. Final. Elena nodded politely. "If you're sure." "I am." As Elena walked out, Vivian slowly closed the bedroom door. The soft click barely made a sound. No one noticed that one security camera overlooking the hallway briefly lost signal. Exactly 4 minutes. Then it came back online. Elena spent her break in the staff kitchen eating half of the sandwich she'd packed from home. Leo sat beside her coloring on the back of an old grocery receipt. He proudly held it up. "Look, Mommy." She laughed. "What is it?" "You." "Really? And that's me." He pointed to a tiny stick figure holding her hand. "We're superheroes." Elena smiled wider than she had all morning. "Who's the strongest superhero?" "You." "No." "Yes." He nodded seriously. "You always fix everything." She kissed the top of his head. "I hope you're right." Neither of them realized those words would soon be tested. 20 minutes later, a scream echoed from upstairs. "My necklace!" Employees froze. Guests stopped talking. Security immediately rushed toward the master suite. Vivian emerged seconds later. Panic protocol. The estate instantly transformed. Doors locked automatically. Every employee gathered inside the entrance hall. No one was allowed to leave. Nathaniel Cross wasn't home. He was in Manhattan preparing to sign the largest acquisition in his company's history, worth nearly $3 billion. So Vivian took charge. She always did. She looked at the assembled staff. "A family heirloom has been stolen." Nobody answered. "We'll begin searches immediately." The guards checked lockers, uniform pockets, cleaning carts, storage rooms. Then Vivian turned toward Elena. "You haven't been searched." Elena frowned. "Of course not. Bring your bag." She handed it over without hesitation. "Go ahead." She had nothing to hide. The zipper opened. Cleaning gloves. Lunch container. Children's crayons. The velvet jewelry pouch. One guard slowly removed it. His face changed instantly. Vivian spoke before anyone else could. "Open it." The guard hesitated. The emerald necklace sparkled under the chandelier. Silence swallowed the room. Elena's heart stopped. "No." Her voice cracked. "No, that's impossible." Vivian's expression never changed. "Impossible? I've never seen that before." "It was in your bag." "It wasn't." The security guard looked genuinely confused. "I checked every item myself." Elena shook her head over and over. "Someone put it there." Vivian let out a slow breath. "A convenient explanation. It's the truth. Can anyone verify where Mrs. Morales has been for the last 30 minutes? Nobody answered. Employees lowered their eyes. One by one, Elena recognized every face. People she'd helped. People she'd comforted. People she'd celebrated birthdays with. Not one person spoke. Not because they believed she was guilty. Because they were afraid. Vivian noticed. Fear was useful. She had spent years cultivating it. She picked up her phone. "I'm calling Mr. Cross." Nathaniel answered on the second ring. "I'm walking into a meeting, Vivian." "I'm sorry to interrupt." "What happened?" "We've had an internal theft." The pause. "Was anything recovered?" "Yes." "Who took it?" Vivian looked directly into Elena's eyes. "Our senior housekeeper." Nathaniel sighed. "I trusted her." "So did we." "Is there evidence?" The necklace was found inside her personal bag. Another pause. Longer this time. Finally he spoke. "If the evidence is clear." "It is." "Terminate her employment immediately." Elena felt the words like a punch to her chest. Vivian ended the call. "There you have it." "No." Elena took a desperate step forward. "Please, let me speak to him." "I'm afraid that's impossible." "He knows me. He knows the report. I gave 8 years of my life to this family." Vivian's voice hardened. "And now you're shouting." "I'm begging." "No." Tears streamed down Elena's face. "I didn't steal anything." Vivian looked toward the guards. "Escort her out." As Elena packed the few belongings from her locker, Alicia Reed quietly entered the room. She looked terrified. Elena turned. "Alicia?" The younger maid couldn't stop shaking. "I wanted to say something." "What is it?" Alicia opened her mouth, then looked toward the hallway. She immediately fell silent. I'm sorry. For what? I'm sorry. She hurried away before Elena could stop her. Elena stood frozen. Something wasn't right. Alicia knew something. She was certain of it. But what? She never got the chance to ask. Outside, rain had begun falling. Not heavily, just enough to soak through clothes after a few minutes. Leo reached for his mother's hand. Are we going home? She swallowed hard. Yes. Are you coming back tomorrow? She couldn't answer, because she didn't know. She looked back one last time at the enormous mansion. For 8 years it had felt almost like a second home. Now it looked like a place that had erased her existence in less than an hour. She turned away before anyone could see her cry again. As they walked toward the bus stop, Leo quietly unzipped his little dinosaur backpack. His tiny fingers searched carefully inside. Prince, toy car, half-eaten cookie, a white business card. He smiled. I still have it. He hugged it tightly without saying another word. Miles away, Nathaniel Cross walked into the boardroom convinced he had made the right decision. He had no idea that before the day was over, one innocent phone call from a little boy would make him question everything he thought he knew, and begin unraveling a betrayal that had been hiding inside his own home for years. The bus ride home felt longer than it had ever felt before. Elena sat silently near the back, staring out the rain-speckled window while Leo rested his head against her arm. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. Finally, Leo looked up. Mommy? She forced another smile. Yes, sweetheart. Did they fire you because you cleaned the room? Her heart shattered all over again. No. Then why? She searched for an answer a 4-year-old could understand. They think Mommy did something bad. But you didn't. No. Then why don't they just listen? She looked away before he could see fresh tears forming. I wish I knew. Their apartment building was old. The hallway lights flickered. The elevator hadn't worked in months. By the time they reached the 3rd floor, Elena's legs felt heavier than they ever had. She unlocked the door. The apartment was small but spotless. Every piece of furniture had been bought secondhand. The dining table had one uneven leg. The sofa had been repaired twice. But it was home. Leo immediately ran to the refrigerator. I'm hungry. Elena opened it. Half a carton of milk. A few eggs. Some bread. 1 apple. She quietly closed the door. I'll make sandwiches. She didn't tell him those were the last slices. After dinner, she sat at the kitchen table surrounded by bills. Electricity. Internet. Medical insurance. She opened her banking app. The number on the screen made her stomach twist. She whispered to herself. 2 weeks. That was all the money she had left. Maybe less. She reached for her phone and began calling employers she had once worked for before joining the Cross estate. The first call went unanswered. The second manager sounded interested until he asked the obvious question. So, why did you leave the Cross family? Elena hesitated. I was dismissed. There was silence. For what reason? She closed her eyes. There was an accusation. Another pause. I'm sorry, Mrs. Morales. The line went dead. The third employer never even returned her call. By midnight, she had stopped trying. Across the state, Nathaniel Cross stood before a wall of applause. The acquisition had been finalized. Reporters surrounded him. Mr. Cross, how does it feel to close the largest deal in company history? He smiled politely. It wasn't about making history. What was it about? Building something that lasts. Flashbulbs exploded. Questions continued. But for reasons he couldn't explain, his thoughts drifted back to Vivian's phone call. 8 years. Elena had worked in his home for 8 years. He remembered seeing her every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every birthday, always smiling, always working. Could she really have stolen from them? His assistant interrupted his thoughts. The car is ready. Nathaniel nodded. Yet the uncomfortable feeling refused to leave. Back at the apartment, Leo quietly climbed onto a chair. He opened his dinosaur backpack again. The white business card was still there. He traced the embossed letters with his tiny finger. Nathaniel Cross. Months earlier, the memory came rushing back. Leo had accidentally dropped his favorite toy airplane into the mansion's fountain. He had cried so hard he could barely breathe. Most adults had ignored him. Nathaniel hadn't. Despite being late for a meeting, he had rolled up his sleeves, stepped into the shallow fountain, retrieved the soaked airplane and dried it with his own handkerchief. Then he had crouched to Leo's eye level. There. Leo smiled through his tears. You fixed it. Nathaniel laughed. It wasn't hard. Then, almost jokingly, he handed Leo one of his business cards. If your mom ever needs me in a real emergency, he smiled. You can call me. To Nathaniel, it had simply been a kind gesture. To Leo, it had become a promise. Now he whispered to himself, this is a real emergency. The following morning, the Cross estate looked perfectly normal. Flowers had been replaced. Guests had gone home. Employees returned to work. Only one thing had changed. Nobody laughed anymore. Alicia quietly polished the dining room table when another employee approached. You barely slept. She shook her head. I keep thinking about Elena. You should stop. It wasn't right. Lower your voice. But you saw Vivian. I said lower your voice. Alicia looked around nervously. What if someone hears us? The older employee leaned closer. They always do. Alicia froze. She knew exactly what he meant. Vivian somehow learned everything. Conversations. Complaints. Rumors. Nothing stayed hidden. Fear had become part of the job. Inside her office, Vivian calmly reviewed expense reports as if nothing had happened. Daniel Brooks, the head of security, knocked once. You wanted to see me? She didn't look up. The police report. It's being finalized. I want it finished before noon. Mrs. Morales requested copies of the camera footage. Vivian finally raised her eyes. No. Legally. I said no. Daniel hesitated. Some cameras lost signal yesterday. I know. They normally don't. Vivian leaned back. Are you questioning the security system? I'm questioning the outage. She smiled. It has already been explained. I haven't seen the explanation. You don't need to. Daniel studied her face. For the first time in years, something felt wrong. Later that afternoon, Nathaniel finally arrived home. The mansion looked exactly as he had left it. Perfect. Too perfect. Vivian greeted him at the entrance. I'm sorry your trip ended with such unpleasant news. He nodded. It happens. I've already replaced the housekeeper. So quickly. We couldn't leave the estate understaffed. Nathaniel glanced toward the hallway where Elena usually organized fresh flowers every morning. The vase was crooked. He instinctively reached over and straightened it. Vivian noticed. You always liked the way she arranged them. I suppose I did. She smiled. People become replaceable. Nathaniel didn't answer. Something about that sentence bothered him. That evening he walked into the library. Everything looked immaculate. Books perfectly aligned. Fireplace spotless. Desk polished. Yet something felt empty. He remembered one rainy afternoon years earlier. He had been working late when Elena quietly entered carrying tea. You've skipped lunch again, Mr. Cross. Without looking up he had replied, I'll eat later. She had smiled gently. That's what you said yesterday. He had actually laughed. Are you giving me instructions? No. What then? I'm reminding you that successful people still need dinner. He had eaten. Not because she was an employee. Because she genuinely cared. Nathaniel slowly sat down. Could someone like that really betray his family? Meanwhile, Leo stood on a chair again. He picked up the old landline phone. His little fingers carefully copied the numbers from the business card. 160. He frowned. No. He erased it. Started again. His tongue stuck out slightly in concentration. Elena walked into the room carrying laundry. What are you doing? Leo quickly hid the card behind his back. Nothing. She smiled weakly. Come help me fold towels. He nodded. But as she walked away, he looked back at the phone. I'll do it later. The next morning brought another blow. A letter slid beneath Elena's apartment door. She opened it. Inside was a formal notice. Due to the theft investigation, her final wages had been placed on hold pending further review. She stared at the page. No. Her voice barely existed anymore. They're keeping my paycheck too. Her knees weakened. She slowly slid down against the wall. Everything she had earned, everything she depended on, frozen. Leo walked over. Mommy. She quickly wiped her tears. I'm okay. No. He placed his tiny hand on hers. You're sad. She couldn't pretend anymore. She hugged him tightly. I don't know what we're going to do. Leo wrapped both little arms around her neck. I'll help. She kissed his forehead. I know you would. Then someone knocked. 3 slow knocks. Elena opened the door. Standing outside was Alicia. She looked terrified. I only have a minute. Alicia? I shouldn't be here. What happened? Alicia looked up and down the hallway before speaking. I don't think that necklace was ever in your bag. Elena's eyes widened. What? I saw Vivian go into the master bedroom alone. When? Before everyone started searching. Elena grabbed her arm. Why didn't you tell them? I wanted to. Then why didn't you? Alicia's voice cracked. Because she threatened all of us. What do you mean? If anyone questioned her. A tear rolled down Alicia's cheek. She said she'd make sure we never worked in another estate again. Elena stared at her in disbelief. You're certain? Alicia nodded. I've never seen the cameras lose signal before yesterday. Elena's breathing quickened. Will you tell Mr. Cross? Alicia immediately stepped backward. I can't. You just said you know. I have parents depending on me. Alicia. I'm sorry. She turned and hurried toward the stairs. Alicia. She never looked back. Elena slowly closed the door. Her heart pounded. She wasn't imagining it. Someone had framed her. But how could she prove it? She had no evidence. No job. No money. And no way to reach the one person who could actually help her. She didn't notice Leo quietly watching from the hallway, or that his small hand had tightened around the white business card hidden inside his pocket. He looked at his mother's tear-stained face, then at the telephone sitting on the table. In his mind, the choice was simple. The nice man had promised to help, and promises, he believed, were meant to be kept. The next morning, while Elena stepped downstairs to collect the mail, Leo climbed onto the chair, picked up the phone with both hands, carefully dialed every number from the card, and waited as the line began to ring. The phone rang inside Nathaniel Cross's private office. Twice. 3 times. Nathaniel looked at the screen. A known number. Normally, he would have ignored it. His calendar was packed. Investors were waiting. A board meeting was starting in less than 10 minutes. But something made him stop. Maybe it was the strange feeling that had followed him since Elena's dismissal. Maybe it was the memory of a little boy holding a toy airplane and smiling. He answered. Hello. For several seconds, there was only silence. Then a tiny voice spoke. Mr. Nathan? Nathaniel sat up. Leo. The billionaire who negotiated billion-dollar deals every day suddenly looked completely different. Confused. Surprised. Concerned. Leo, is everything okay? The little boy took a deep breath. My mommy didn't steal. Nathaniel said nothing. The voice continued. They said she took the shiny necklace, but she didn't. Nathaniel leaned back in his chair. Leo, where is your mother? She is sad. Those 3 words hit harder than any accusation. Why is she sad? Because nobody listened. Nathaniel closed his eyes. For a moment, the noise of the city outside disappeared. There was only a child asking for someone to believe his mother. Leo. He softened his voice. Can I speak with your mom? She's downstairs. I need you to give her the phone. Okay. There was a sound of movement. A few seconds later, Elena's voice came through. Mr. Cross. Nathaniel noticed immediately. She sounded different. Not angry. Not demanding. Broken. Elena. I'm sorry about Leo calling you. I didn't know he had your card. Why didn't you call me? Silence. Then she answered quietly, "Because I thought you already decided I was guilty." Nathaniel had no response. "Because she was right. I want to hear your side." Another silence. Then Elena began. "I didn't take anything." "I know that's what you believe." "No." Her voice became stronger. "I don't mean I believe it. I know it." Nathaniel listened. "I was with Leo when the necklace disappeared. We were in the staff kitchen." "Can anyone confirm?" "No." Her voice lowered. "Because nobody wants to go against Vivian." That name caught his attention. "Vivian?" "Mr. Cross." She hesitated. "I don't know what she's involved in. But something is wrong." Nathaniel looked toward the window. For the first time since the accusation, a small doubt became a serious question. "Tell me everything." 40 minutes later, Nathaniel canceled his meetings. His assistant was shocked. "Sir, the investors are waiting." "Reschedule." "Is everything okay?" Nathaniel picked up his coat. "No." He paused. "I think I made a mistake." Nathaniel didn't return to the estate. Not immediately. Instead, he contacted Daniel Brooks, the former federal investigator who had managed Cross Security for 5 years. Daniel arrived at Nathaniel's private office within an hour. "I thought this was about the acquisition." "It isn't." Nathaniel placed the theft report on the desk. "Investigate this." Daniel scanned the papers. "Elena Morales?" "Yes." "Do you believe she stole it?" Nathaniel looked down. "I believed it yesterday." "And today?" Nathaniel was silent. "Today I believe I didn't ask enough questions." Daniel nodded. "That's usually where mistakes begin." "I need the truth." "No matter what it reveals?" Nathaniel looked directly at him. "Especially if it reveals I was wrong." The investigation began quietly. Daniel didn't speak to Vivian. Didn't warn anyone. Didn't announce anything. He started with the smallest details. The security footage. The access logs. The staff schedules. The timeline. Within hours, the first problem appeared. The security footage from the hallway had been edited. Daniel stared at the screen. "Impossible." He replayed it. And again. A 4-minute gap. Exactly when Vivian claimed nobody entered the room. He called Nathaniel. "We have a problem." "What kind?" "The evidence against Elena may have been manufactured." Nathaniel gripped the phone tighter. "Explain." "The camera footage was altered." A long silence followed. "Can you prove it?" "Not yet." "Find out." Daniel continued digging. The necklace had been stored inside a smart security safe. Most people assumed the only record was the camera footage. They were wrong. The safe had its own internal system. A hidden backup. A record nobody at the estate knew existed. Daniel requested the data. When the report arrived, his expression changed. There were only 3 people with access. Elena Morales, Thomas Reyes, Vivian Mercer. Thomas was immediately eliminated. He had been on a family trip 3 hours away. Elena had been at the pediatric clinic with Leo. A time-stamped receipt confirmed it, which left one person. Vivian. Daniel, the person who investigated the theft, was the person who had access to the safe. Nathaniel returned to the estate that evening. Vivian greeted him with a smile. "I hope your meetings went well." "They were cancelled." Her smile faded slightly. "Is something wrong?" "I've been reviewing the theft." "I already provided everything." "I know." Nathaniel looked around the room. "That's the problem." Vivian frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means I trusted your version before hearing anyone else's." She laughed softly. "Surely you don't believe Elena." Nathaniel studied her. "Do you?" The question surprised her. "What? Do you believe Elena stole from you?" Vivian hesitated for half a second. "Only half." But Nathaniel noticed. "I believe the evidence speaks for itself." "No." His voice was calm. "The evidence tells a story." He stepped closer. "The question is who wrote it." For the first time, Vivian looked nervous. The next morning, Nathaniel called every employee into the main hall. Nobody knew why. Whispers spread. Some thought more people were being fired. Others feared Vivian had discovered something. Alicia stood at the back, terrified. Nathaniel entered carrying a folder. Vivian stood beside him confidently. She believed she had already won. "Thank you all for coming." Nathaniel looked at every employee. Yesterday, someone was accused of theft. Nobody moved. That accusation destroyed someone's reputation. His eyes moved toward the empty space where Elena used to stand. "And I allowed it to happen." Vivian shifted. "Mr. Cross." He raised his hand. "Not yet." The room became silent. "I trusted someone without verifying the truth." He opened the folder. "And because of that mistake, an innocent person suffered." Everyone looked at Vivian. Her confidence started disappearing. Nathaniel continued. "The security footage was altered." Gasps filled the room. The safe records were ignored. More whispers. And the person responsible attempted to cover everything. Vivian's face went pale. "That's ridiculous." Nathaniel looked at her. "Is it?" He handed Daniel the folder. Daniel connected a laptop to the television screen. The first image appeared. A fingerprint record. Then another. A timestamp. Then a financial report. Vivian's breathing changed. "This is a misunderstanding." Daniel pressed another button. A list of hidden transactions appeared. Multiple payments. Unauthorized withdrawals. Years of missing money. The room went silent. Nathaniel spoke quietly. "How long?" Vivian said nothing. "How long did you think nobody would notice?" Her voice cracked. "I didn't mean for this to happen." Alicia covered her mouth. Everyone stared. Nathaniel looked disappointed more than angry. "Elena lost everything because you needed someone to blame." Vivian finally broke. "I was drowning." Nobody expected that answer. "I had debts. I made mistakes." She looked around desperately. "I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed." Nathaniel shook his head. "And you destroyed an innocent person's life to protect yourself." Security officers stepped forward. Vivian didn't fight. She simply looked down. For the first time, the person who controlled everyone's fear looked afraid herself. 2 days later, Nathaniel stood outside Elena's apartment. No assistant. No lawyers. No security team. Just him. Elena opened the door and froze. "Mr. Cross, I owe you an apology." She didn't say anything. "I made a decision without investigating. I judged you because it was easier than searching for the truth." Elena looked down. "I lost my job." "I know." "My reputation." "I know." "My son watched people call me a thief." Nathaniel swallowed. "I know." The billionaire who had commanded entire companies lowered his voice. "And I'm sorry." For a moment, Elena said nothing. Then she asked, "Why are you here?" Nathaniel handed her a folder. Inside was a new contract. She looked confused. "What is this?" "Not your old position." She looked up. "What?" "I want you to become director of household operations." Elena stared. "You want me to manage the entire estate?" "Yes." "After what happened?" "Because what happened proved something." "What?" "You were the only person in that house who deserved more power." Months later, the Cross estate looked different. Not because the walls changed. Because the people did. Employees could speak without fear. Reports were reviewed properly. No accusation was accepted without proof. Nathaniel changed too. He started eating breakfast at home. He learned the names of employees. He spent time with people instead of only managing businesses. And every weekend, a little boy named Leo visited the gardens. The same boy who made one phone call. The same boy who didn't understand billion-dollar companies or powerful people. He only understood one thing. His mother was telling the truth. And someone needed to listen. One evening, Nathaniel watched Leo playing outside and smiled. He finally understood something he had forgotten. A person's value isn't measured by their wealth, their position, or their influence. Sometimes the person with the smallest voice is the one who reveals the biggest truth. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more emotional stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. 'Cause sometimes, one moment of courage, one person willing to listen, and one small voice can change everything.